One summer when I was little, they sent me to Grandma Erika's in Tel Aviv. I spent the whole month there without getting bored for 1 minute. I adored that city. To me, it was one big amusement park. It charmed me, all of it, even the grocery store. Every day, Grandma Erika would send me there for a loaf of bread. That was a major assignment for a kibbutz girl who'd never been to a store before. The tiny grocery store at the end of the street barely stocked anything except for a few staple goods. The one genuinely exciting item in the whole place was an enormous glass jar full of chewing gum. I could hardly take my eyes off of it. The bread smelled delicious, and I bit away at it with such a passion that by the time I got back to Grandma Erika's, it was half gone. She didn't get angry with me. She just smiled. I wasn't the only one who'd come for fresh bread. There were many kids there. Sometimes we all had to wait for the bakery truck to arrive. One of the kids, who always got 2 loaves, was different. Every day, the salesman would give him a piece of chewing gum for free. Every day, he'd ask the kid what color he wanted. And every day, the kid would say, yellow. Always yellow. He'd place it carefully in his pocket and then march along with a loaf on either side, like 2 swaying ducks. The children would wait to pounce on him. No sooner did he leave the grocery store than they'd ask him for a bite from his loaf. Their own loaves stayed neatly wrapped as they bit ravenously into his. Then, after they left enormous holes in his loaf, one of the kids would ask, "Want us to be your friends? Then give us your chewing gum." As time went on, I noticed that they took turns. Each day a different kid would get the yellow gum. It went on, and I didn't tell a soul. One day his mother came to the grocery store. She was a small woman and quite old, not at all like a mother. She walked up to the boys and said, "Why do you do that to him? You tell him you're his friends. Every day he comes home with breads full of holes, and I get upset with him. He pretends that he did it. He covers up for you. Do you know what he'd do to have some friends?" The kids hung their heads in shame and didn't answer. The next day was my final day of my visit with Grandma Erika. I made my last bread round. The boy was standing there already, his 2 loaves untouched. But the kid whose turn it was had stepped out of line and walked up to him. And the strange boy handed him his gum. When they saw me watching, they shouted, "What's it to you? You're not even from here." It was the first time I had ever come across a person who was retarded. I took Grandma Erika's question with me back home. "And what did you do?" Nowadays, whenever Yotam asks for some bread, I slice it carefully, neatly, like a draftsman, to prevent that memory from surfacing. But the strange little boy of those days keeps coming back to me, catching me unprepared, and I shudder. I'm not going to wake him up. Not today. Tomorrow will do. Except that he's so eager, so artless, so willing to accept things the way they are, without question. We were expecting his question all summer. We were surprised that he never brought it up, and so we left well enough alone. Without comment, he'd watched Talia's painstaking preparations for the coming school year. She bought him a present, a double-decker pencil box and a bunch of fragrant erasers. We were beginning to think he'd never ask. Every evening before going to bed, he'd take out all the erasers and line them up, arranging and rearranging them, a whole production. He was so wrapped up in what he was doing that his forehead would be covered with grooves. You'd think he was working on some ingenious invention destined to change the human race. That evening I was hanging up Talia's uniform, thinking Yotam was in the shower. As I walked back down the hall, I saw him pushing his arms into the sleeves of her shirt. It was inside out. The sleeves were dangling in front like a pair of elephant trunks. Every now and then he'd shackle them. I thought that he hadn't noticed me, but with senses as sharp as his, he could easily have been an Apache. He asked, "Why won't I be going to Talia's school too?" I told him, "You're going to a different school, a special one." He insisted. "Why a special one?" "Because you're not the same as everyone else. Almost the same, but a little bit different." "And I'll be in class with other kids that are different?" I tried to take his arms out of the dangling shirt, but he pulled it even tighter. "How am I different?" "You do things slower," I explained. I finally managed to get him out of the dangling shirt. His hands were free to hug me, and I could feel a shiver running down his back. Let him sleep in peace. Who knows what's waiting for him at that place I'm sending him to with all those people? He'll be lost there. I'm no hero. Sometimes I lose my temper too. It's not easy with him. Even with me, he's capable of putting up that transparent barrier of his. And I try to get through. I knock hard and shake him and say, "Let me in." I can't forget that time I caught him rummaging through Talia's school bag. It was one of those days David was off to the south, to the courthouse to fend some punk that kept in trouble. I was tired and irritable. Yotam was standing in the room, fumbling in the open school bag. Instinctively, I pushed him. He gave a shriek, not exactly crying. He tried to talk, but all he could manage was a clumsy gurgle. I could see he was hiding something behind his back. I grabbed the school bag and said, "It's Talia's. Don't you touch it." Suddenly, the hand behind his back popped up in front of me, holding something white and rustling. "It's for Talia. I wanted it to be a surprise." His words were clear as could be now. He crumpled the page into a ball and kicked it under the bed. I wanted to hug him, to apologize, but he was all the way under the blanket by then. I crawled under the bed and pulled out the drawing. It was all wrinkled and a little torn at the edge too. I put it under the blanket, but Yotam refused to take it. I crawled under the blanket myself and said, "Yotam, I'm sorry. Please forgive me." He turned his back to me.